Sati Gaurabhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the topic for today is self-leadership. And usually leadership is understood if some person can take good decisions, he can give a vision, he can create a good organizational culture, he can solve difficult problems, then usually he is perceived, he is a good leader. Leadership is actually about getting results. So for getting good results, you have to execute everything properly. If you want to execute something properly, then it should be planned properly. And if you really want to plan properly, then your intentions also should be good. So usually the concept of leadership in this world is, if something can, or if some person can execute something very properly, he is a good leader. The only problem is, somebody may be good at his skills, somebody may be good at very fast processing, somebody may be very good at taking decisions. What if there is some small weakness of his own mind? When situations become tough, when the intelligence sometimes does not work so fast, then if your mind is weak, one moment of weakness can actually lead to a lot of chaos, can actually lead to a lot of confusion, and sometimes it can also lead to a lot of collapse. So we are all aware the most powerful country in the world is USA, at least politically, in terms of military power also. And the president of US is the most powerful person in the US. And around 15-20 years back, there was one powerful president of US. His name was Bill Clinton. So very charismatic, very attractive, and considered to be very successful. Only thing is, one day, one of the females working in the office of the President of America, she complained that the President of America in the office used to have some unnecessary relationships with me. They were not married, but they had close physical contact with each other. And just that one revelation caused to the downfall of this very charismatic, apparently very intelligent, apparently very successful President of America. So what went wrong? Did any military decision go wrong? No. Did any economic decision go wrong? No. Did he take any decision that caused the health of Americans to go down? No. As far as results go, very successful. But he had one weakness. If some female was very beautiful, then he could not keep his hands off her. So this is one very glaring example in modern times of how somebody may be a good externally a leader, but his mind is not controlled, and if his mind is not controlled, then it leads to a lot of collapse, it leads to a lot of challenges. So today's topic is self-leadership. The point is, you can have a match to start a fire, but if you really want a match to start a fire, first you have to ignite the match. You cannot have a match which is not ignited itself, and with that unignited match you cannot light a fire. It means you can only give what you yourself have. The matchstick cannot say, I am completely inflammable and so I want to start fire. No. Any object will say, if you are completely inflammable, first you show me how you have the fire inside you, and then I can transfer that fire from you to me. So similarly, my dear friends, if any one of us wishes to be a leader in this world, we think it's only about commanding others. We think it's only about controlling others. It's about ordering others. It's about telling others what to do. But as soon as you tell somebody else, can you do this? This person will definitely ask this question. You want me to do this? Are you going to do it? And that time if you say, well, I don't do things, I just use my tongue and I just ask others to do things, it won't work like this. So leadership outside is very much dependent on leadership inside. So what does it mean, leadership inside? All of us have some desires, all of us have some values in life, all of us have some responsibilities in life. Which of those desires will you give more importance to? Which of those responsibilities you will give high priority to? Which of the values do you think are more important than any other thing? That is what is called as self-leadership. Self-leadership is not that you suddenly start wearing fashionable clothes and you get a fancy chair to sit on. That's a very gross and external concept of leadership. Leadership starts with how aligned you are with what is necessary for this whole world to improve as a whole body. So all of us individually, we want to improve ourselves. I want to progress, you want to progress, you want to progress. But if our ideas of progress are conflicting with each other, then what happens? Nothing happens. In fact, there is a lot of confusion and there's a lot of actually conflict. Think of a pond, and in that pond you throw a stone, and then where it lands there are circular waves that are created. Similarly, you throw a stone in the same pond but at another place, then waves will start creating. You throw a stone in the same pond at another place, from there waves start going. What happens if these three places are three different places? The waves will keep on intersecting with each other. And now imagine you put a stone at one place and everyone else also puts a stone at that place. What happens? The waves still get created, but the waves do not intersect with each other. Actually, the waves will complement each other, and much more wavelength, much more stronger waves will be created. So in this world, everyone has their idea of progress. Somebody thinks economic progress is real progress. Somebody says, actually, you may be economically very strong, but what if some other country has a lot of military power? Then they can anytime overpower your country. We can see right now today. So military power is the greatest power. Somebody says, actually, education is the biggest power. If people are uneducated, they are rich. And they have a lot of military power, but they are uneducated. They don't know what is right, they don't know what is wrong. So education is the real power. Somebody says, health is the real power. So what is the real power? To understand sociology is not an easy task. So is health not important? Yes. Is military not important? Yes. Is education not important? Yes. Is economics not important? Yes. But for any country to go from status A to status B, which particular item that I mentioned just now should be first prioritized? Should health be prioritized first? Should education be prioritized first? Should economics should be prioritized first, or just increase military power first and then we'll think about anything else? What is important? So this is what I mean by, if there is no clarity inside, then there will be no clarity outside. And that's why the Vedic concept of leadership is not much to do with the outside world. The Vedic concept of leadership starts with your inner leadership. If I am clear about what is important in life, is money important? Yes. Is my health important? Yes. Is my character important? Yes. But they say wealth lost can be earned again. Health lost, it takes a lot of time to earn it back again. But character lost, you can never get it again. So that does not mean health is not important. That does not mean wealth is not important. But what it means is we should have a clear idea of the priorities. And most people today, the lack that they have is not that they don't know what is right and what is wrong, but they don't have a priority in their life. So this is also important, that is also important, that is also important, that is also important. And in this way, everything is important. And what happens when you put your hands in too many things? Then there is a saying called too many cooks spoil the broth. So that's why self-leadership is very important for anybody who is aiming at leadership outside. And one of the most important points for self-leadership is mind management. Somebody who does not think about mind management, he cannot be a good leader inside, and somebody who cannot be a good leader inside cannot be a good leader outside. See, all of us, we have two selves inside. One is what I call the impulsive self. Impulsive self means you see something and there is a strong impulse from within and you want to do what you like to do. And second is the contemplative self. The contemplative self means before taking action, this contemplative self thinks about it. Is this good for me? Should I really invest my time and energy in this? Am I going to get any advantage out of it? So I would say, there is a self inside. All of us have intelligence. All of us have a mind. All of us have emotions. So mind is there. And all of us have this body also. So the impulsive self is basically made of two things, the body and the mind. If I hit you, then immediately there is an impulse from the body. You will also hit me. If I pass some sarcastic remark at you, immediately there will be a sarcastic remark from you, right? So the body is very impulsive. Body does not think much. You already had dinner, but then you are passing by a food stall and the fragrance is very, very hot and very nice, very attractive. Although the stomach is full, but you still want to put your hand and put it into your mouth. Body is impulsive. If your good friend with whom you have had a very nice relationship of maybe 10 or 20 years, but even after having a good relationship of 10-20 years, one day that friend forgets your birthday, and everyone in your office, everyone amongst your friends wishes you on your birthday, but that one friend forgets. Will you not be angry on him? And then in the evening when you meet him, you say, how could you do this? He says, what? No, I didn't expect this from you. What? You forgot my birthday. Oh really? Oh, I'm really sorry. Wish you. But how did you forget it? So the body is very impulsive and the mind is very impulsive. We don't actually evaluate what are the consequences of my impulses. And the body and the mind is a culprit of being impulsive. The second self that is there inside is the contemplative self. Contemplative self means before speaking anything, before taking any action, before speaking a single word, the contemplative self thinks over the consequences. Typically the intelligence is very contemplative. And our challenge is, how do you do things in such a way that the contemplative self overpowers the impulsive self? When there is an impulse to speak wrong things, when there is an impulse to do wrong things, if we can allow the contemplative self to overpower the impulsive self, then the contemplative self will say, actually this friendship has been going on for 20 years now. 20 years this person has been a good friend of yours. Just one time he forgot your birthday. What big deal? It's all right. And so many others who wished you birthday today, but do they really care for you rest of the year? So one day if somebody comes to you and with a very sweet smile says, happy birthday to you, does that mean this person is your well-wisher? Because 364 days before and 364 days later, this person never ever cared about you. But only on your birthday, this person is coming all the way and wishing you a birthday. What difference does it make? On the other hand, this person who's your good friend, 364 days before your birthday, he was a good friend, he was your well-wisher, he used to help you with different things. And there is a good hope that 364 days ahead also, this person will be a good friend and he'll help you. Just one day somehow, maybe he was busy, maybe he was sick, maybe something went wrong in his life, and instead of I expecting some good wishes from him, maybe he needs support from me. What if somebody misbehaved with him in the morning? And because he was too caught up with that, that's why he forgot to wish me my birthday. So instead of expecting him to wish me, actually if I'm a good friend, then I should extend myself to him on that day. So, which self will think about all this? It is not the impulsive self, it is the contemplative self. And many times we have lost good opportunities for advancement. We have lost good opportunities for self-improvement because we have not allowed the contemplative self to overrule the impulsive self. Actually, all of our mind is like that internet browser. How many of you use an internet browser on your computer or laptop? Yes. So all of our browsers, they have a default home page. Yes. All the browsers, they save the history of our browsing. And this browser, because it saves the history of our browsing, many times it also saves many of the cookies. Yes. So next time when you are going to that website, let's say Amazon.com, so every purchase that you did, every search that you did, it saves on your computer. Next time you say www.a, there are at least 5 or 6 autocomplete entries there, Amazon.com or a something else.com, right? Airbnb.com and so on. Airlufthansa.com, airindia.com. So all you did is www.a. And it could be a 10th website, but all the websites that you visited in the past, it is already telling you, do you want to visit these websites because you visited these websites just yesterday. Actually, our mind is also like that browser. Just like the browser has a home page, our mind also has a default page which we will use in interacting with anybody and taking any decision. So some of us, if we are really negative minded, then when we meet a new person, there's already negativity about that person, even before we start talking to that person. If somebody offers us some opportunity, which nobody has offered us till now, there's already negativity about that opportunity. But actually we have no idea. If somebody is offering us an opportunity, it could be the best thing that could happen in my life. If I meet a stranger on the bus when I'm traveling to some program, and I already have negativity about any person, and somebody sitting next to me and this person, how are you doing? And I have negativity. I might just give a very a very stiff remark and I might lose a friend. But what if I'm open-minded? I can say, yes, I'm doing good. Where are you going? I'm going for a program. Oh, I am also looking for some knowledge of spirituality, and I can actually make a good friendship. But all of us have a default page, which in the internet language is called home page. Can this home page be deleted? Can this home page be changed in the browser? Okay, only one person is answering, so he is understanding what I am saying. So as far as my knowledge goes, the home page of a browser can always be changed, right? It means our mind's default position can be changed. But who will want to change the home page? Somebody who's really thinking, every time I launch my internet browser, without even asking me, it takes me to www.amazon.com. Why? Why should I go to amazon.com? Because as soon as it takes me by default to amazon.com, there are some sale advertisements there, and then I get hooked on, and then I end up purchasing some product which I may not even need. So it's basically a trap. But somebody who's not thinking, well, he goes Amazon, oh, this deal, and he's emptying his bank account. But somebody who's intelligent, he says, why should I go there? Why can't I go for a blank page? Why should I even go to any search website even? Why can't I just get a blank page when I start my browser? I will decide whether I want to go to Amazon. I will decide whether I want to go to Google. I will decide whether I want to purchase a ticket for a flight or a train ticket, or I am just searching for news. Why should you tell me? So similarly, those who are contemplative, they understand my mind seems to have a default page. If I observe myself, I usually tend to be very suspicious. Anybody is talking anything which I am not aware of, I tend to be suspicious. I don't think it's good to be suspicious of every person. So then you change your default page on the browser, and then there is a change that can happen in your life. Just like the internet browser, it stores cookies on your laptop and it stores your history, and then it is trying to manipulate you based on your history. Similarly, the mind is also like that. If I had 10 experiences of a certain type in the last 1 month, then it is telling me probably this is the kind of experience that you will have today also. But no, life is ever fresh. How people treated me yesterday has nothing to do with how people will treat me tomorrow. Because the people who treated me yesterday may not be the same people with whom I will interact tomorrow. So our organizer was telling me 10th of July is your allotment day, right? So before 10th of July you are in one campus, and after 10th of July some of you will go to another campus, some of you will stay in this campus, right? Life will change. What if the experiences that you had with certain people in this campus, you say that this is how the world is, and you go to a fresh campus somewhere in another part of the country and you are clouded inside, and you say, no, I know how people are because it's based on certain experiences that I had in a particular city in India. But now I am transferred to another city. Now the people there, my colleagues there are very different. But my cookie is telling me this is how the world is, and I generalize. And what happens to people who generalize? You know, how many of you have been to a restaurant where the menu is already fixed by the chef? It's actually a very lousy feeling when you go there and you say, can I order this? He says no. Can I order this? No. Can I eat this? No. What can I eat? Well, the vegetables are already ready, the dal is already ready, the pulao is already ready, the pakodas are already ready, the papad is already ready. Within that you can choose. You know, it's already decided. You go to an ice cream shop which says Baskin Robbins 33 flavors. You go inside and you say, well, can I have the roasted almond? He says, sorry, out of stock. You say, okay, no problem. Can I have the strawberry? Sorry sir, out of stock. Okay, can I have the vanilla? Sorry sir, it just got over. Can I have chocolate? Sorry sir, out of stock. Okay, can I have some peanuts? Sorry sir, out of stock. Okay, pista? Sorry sir, we don't have it. So you say, why do you write 33 flavors? You just write one flavor, right? You already decided what I should eat. So similarly, just like it feels very terrible when somebody else has made all the decisions for you, but externally there is a show that there are 33 flavors. Externally there is a show that in our restaurant you have a choice. Similarly, my dear friends, when we are exposed to a certain kind of people in a certain context and we overgeneralize it, and even after we are moving to another area somewhere in India and we are saying, सब ऐसे ही रहते हैं, लोग ऐसे ही रहते हैं, people are like this only. It is like going to a restaurant where the menu is already fixed. It's actually a very lousy experience. So the cookies that are there in the web browser of our mind, they need to be deleted regularly. If you have been using a Windows computer for a long time, then you know there is something called as cache memory. And if that cache memory is not cleared, your laptop becomes slow. And sometimes when you run some tools on your laptop, then it says, sir, you have GB's worth of cache memory. Cache means there's some temporary files that are created by Windows when you visit any website. And over a period of time, they just accumulate, and they make your computer slow. So what you have to do? Regularly, at least 6 months, you have to delete your cache. C-A-C-H-E. It's called cache. If you don't do it, your computer will become slow. All of us have a cache memory of an entire lifetime. In my childhood, I met some people. In my youth, I met some people. In my office, I met some people. And I have made a definition of how the world is. Does not mean the whole world is like that. So, the home page of the browser of our mind needs to be changed. The history and the cookies of the mind, they need to be changed. In this way, actually the mind becomes free of so many restrictions. Actually, when we come to spirituality, one of the reasons that people give isn't spirituality about losing freedom? If I practice spirituality, if I practice some kind of spirituality, will there not be some rules and regulations that I have to follow? Which means I lose my freedom. But I just want to be a free bird. I don't want to follow any rules. Actually, the reality is reverse. Take an example of driving on the road. If somebody says, I want to be a free bird, I'll not follow any rules. So he drives on the wrong side. He drives on the right side of the road. In India, you are supposed to drive on the left side, but he is driving on the right side. What happens? The police come, they first snatch away his license, which means he can no longer drive. So what to speak of driving on the right side? He cannot drive only. Why he cannot drive? Because he wanted to be a free bird. And becoming a free bird actually has taken away the right to fly from him. But if somebody says, no, I want to drive a car, but I don't want to be a free bird, I'll follow all the rules. So he always drives as per the rules. How long can he drive? If he is driving as per the rules, he can drive for his entire lifetime. So the person who follows a few rules is actually the free bird. And the so-called free bird who claims that he is a free bird, actually because he is not following any rule, the right to drive is taken away from him. He can no longer drive a car. Similarly, my dear friends, in our lives we feel, I will not follow any rules. I am a free bird. You know what happens? All those people who don't follow any rules, they spoil their health actually. They sleep when they want to, they get up when they want to, they eat when they want to, they smoke when they want to, and all these things. And they actually spoil their health. And in one sense, they are good for nothing. But there are people who say, no, a few rules if I follow, and if that helps me stay healthy, if that helps me stay focused, I think those rules are worthy of being followed. And they follow those rules. And what happens? A lifetime of success. So mind management is very important. Actually, if you see in the olden days, there used to be a lamp. And the flame used to be in the center. And because this flame has to be really tall to give light for studying, there will be wind always. So in order to save the flame from being exhausted by the wind, they will put a glass case. What is the glass case doing? The glass case is doing two things. Because it is transparent, it will make sure that light from the flame goes outside. But second important thing that the casing does is, it does not allow the wind to touch the flame. Actually, our mind is also like a flame. It has a lot of light. But what we do is, we never ever surround the flame of our mind with a good protective casing. So any suggestion given by anybody is good enough. So somebody says, let's watch 4 movies in a row. Yeah, why not? Sounds exciting. Let's do this, let's do that. Any weird, in fact, the more weird the suggestion is, we feel it's really, really exciting and it's adventurous. What is it doing to the flame of the mind? Imagine a strong wind is coming from what happens to the flame? It gets almost extinguished. What happens to the light that comes out of the flame? It almost does. You can't study in the light of a flame that is always being rocked by the wind. If you really want to benefit from the light that is coming from a flame, the flame has to be steady. Simple. You know, this tube light, if it starts flickering because of some electrical defect, you will say, "Ek kaam karte hai," you switch it off. But you know, you're reading something and the light is flickering, it actually hurts the eyes. So all of us, we know that steady light is very important. Flickering light is very damaging to the eyes. Similarly for the mind. A steady mind is very, very healthy for us, but a flickering mind is very, very dangerous for us. So how important it is that we should learn that the flame of the mind should always be covered by the transparent glass casing of intelligence, which, as I mentioned before, 2 selves, the impulsive self and the contemplative self. So if we don't allow the impulsive self to be contained by the contemplative self, our life will be full of mishaps. Why mishaps? Because I was just an impulsive person. I felt like speaking something, I just spoke it out. I didn't care about the consequences. I felt like doing something, I just did it. I didn't think about the consequences. What happens to people who don't think about the consequences? What happens to people who speak without thinking about the consequences? In all probability, they land in serious problems. But people who think before they speak, who think before they do, they will very much be in charge of their life. Why? They are thinking before. what will be the consequences? Is it good? It may look very attractive to me, but will it cause disruption in the people around me? You know, some 2 months back, 3 months back, the place where we stay, there is a tall building just next to it. And one day around 2:30 in the morning, I was woken up. So I thought, what's going on? You know what I saw? In one of the balconies, it seems, the young boy who stayed there, it was his birthday. So they must have been partying all night. So at 2:30, in deep sleep, I heard some Western song being played, some rock song being played. And I just could not, so I got up and saw out of my window some 4 boys and 4 or 5 girls. At 2:30, they are dancing on loud music. It certainly broke my sleep, and I'm sure so many others also, their sleep must be broken. Now if you go and ask them, how do you feel? Their response will be, we are on top of the world. We are really feeling very satisfied. We are really feeling very, very, nice and rejuvenated, right? At what cost? At the cost of spoiling the sleep of maybe 100, 200 people. So this kind of enjoyment, if people are doing at the cost of the sleep of 100 people, what kind of an enjoyment it is? Is it good enjoyment? So there's no problem in enjoyment. The problem is when our enjoyment becomes somebody else's distress. Can you think of some example where somebody else around you was saying, wow, we are having a good time, but you were thinking, his good time is my bad time? Can you think of some example? I was traveling one time and I was trying to read a book, and the person in front of me, he did not have earphones and he was playing one song after another. Anybody had that experience sometimes? It's late at night, you want to sleep or you want to read, and the person next to you in the train or the bus, somehow, your bad fortune, he forgot his earphones. And no matter how much you tell him, what time is it? It's like 11 o'clock at night. It's not 11 o'clock in the morning. So can you please reduce your volume? Yeah, I'll do it. And then what happens? He does not reduce. How many of you had that experience sometimes? How did you feel when that happened? Right? So his enjoyment is coming at what cost? You are not able to sleep. You are not able to read. Sometimes when you're traveling, people around you, they eat something, and some wrapper or some that bag in which it is delivered, they just put it on the floor. And you say, well, there's a dustbin there. But say, no, it's all right. The cleaner will come and he'll take it away. So you think, your pleasure, at what cost? 100 people have to see that garbage lying on the ground. Yes. So similarly, in life also, we might be taking some decisions to act in a certain way, to speak in a certain way, where it is pleasure for us. But for people around us, if we ask them, how did you feel when I was talking like that? How did you feel when I was behaving like that? So I was feeling terrible. I was feeling awful. So the impulsive self usually is stronger than the contemplative self. But if you really are troubled by somebody else's impulsive nature, then you will say, the least I can do is, I will not be part of being impulsive. And then you actually allow your contemplative self to be like a protective guard around the flame of the mind, and don't allow it to be impulsive. This is the first principle of self-leadership. As I mentioned, if we are not even thinking about others' benefit and we are just self-obsessed, it's not leadership. It's called controlling people. So leadership is not just about doing things the way I want to do it. It is about doing things the way that it is good in general for others also. That's called leadership. So we think leadership is about, just catching hold of a bunch of people, and by hook or by crook, and many times by crook, getting things done by them. This is called effective leadership. It's not effective leadership, it's destructive leadership. Leadership is actually about empowering people, encouraging people, and giving them the reasons to do the right things. Not because you want them to do it, and because you are an authority, and because you are on top, so they better learn to please you, and they better learn to do things your way. That's leadership. That's controlling people. That's dictatorship. Leadership means, what will it take to actually encourage and inspire and motivate people under me to think in the right way, so that they also don't become impulsive like I am not impulsive, and they also slowly learn to become more and more contemplative. That's called leadership. So if some of us feel, actually, you know what, this leadership and all these big words, they're for people on the top. You know, people like me, we are just engineers and we are just scientists. Are we leaders? Maybe the director of this institute is a leader. I am not a leader. So a study was conducted by Harvard University, and they said the most introvert person throughout his life, he influences at least 10,000 individuals just by the way we behave, just by the way we look at others, just by the way we sneeze. In a public place, if I get a sneeze now and I don't carry a handkerchief, right? So what if I sneeze, you know, something falls on you, and then I say, sorry, I didn't carry a handkerchief. How do you feel? So I am the most introvert person. I never planned to really influence people, but just by the way I sneezed, I influenced some people, right? What to speak of the way I look at people, the way I talk with people, the way I speak, the way I behave. So the most introvert person is also going to influence, whether you agree or not, 10,000 people in your lifetime, which means, think about it. Some of us may have a formal post of leadership, like some people in the administration of this institution. And some of us may not be in a post of administration, but just the very fact that I exist, there are people watching me. When I'm walking on the road, there are people watching me. What if I'm walking on the road with a cigarette in my hand? I'm just like this. Am I not influencing some people? What if I'm whistling? Some girls are going and I'm whistling. Am I not influencing those girls to feel uncomfortable? Am I not influencing some boys in a wrong way? So even if one person changes, think about it, 10,000 people can change. So we feel, I'm an ordinary person, what difference does it make if I become a good person, if I become a contemplative person, if I start controlling my mind, what difference is it going to make? It's going to make a difference in the lives of at least 10,000 people. Think about it. Your influence footprint is quite large. So all of us want a good world, but I may not be a good person. I want to be the bad person. I want to lead a whimsical life. I will eat what I want to. I will speak what I want to. I will live my life king size. But the world should be a good place. It does not work out like that. Because the world is not a third party. The world is the where we are living, where you are living, where I am living, where you are living. The way we are, the way we interact with each other, the way we influence each other is going to shape the world tomorrow. So all of us, we want a crime-free world. We want an encouraging world. We want an environment-friendly world. But how many of you don't use an handkerchief which can be washed, but you use tissue paper for sneezing? Have you seen people using tissue paper? It's disposable, right? It's fashionable sometimes. This has to be washed. But you know what? This can last with me for maybe 5 years. But a tissue paper, every time I put it here and I use it like this, I can't put it back. I have to throw it. So becoming a leader is not something about getting a fancy chair and sitting on a very top position and then commanding people. Leadership starts with first being a good example yourself. If I am not taking care of the environment, if I am using tissue paper which is disposable, what for? If public transport can be used, but unnecessarily I'll use private transport, and I'm creating more and more emissions, right? I'm heating up the planet. By my actions, I'm heating up everyone else around me, and by my habits, I'm heating up the planet. And I'm not a leader, sorry. But if I'm really, really sensitive about myself, how am I talking with others, how are my interactions with others, and what is the positive influence I have on others, that is called leadership. So that is called self-leadership. One point which will really help us in going ahead in the direction of self-leadership is to understand this sutra. So I'm giving you some sutras. I'll give you 3 sutras. First sutra is attitude is more important than talent. Now many of us, we feel actually it is the talent that counts. Attitude does not matter. But I'll share something. Actually talent is useful to deal with the world. But attitude is important, useful to deal with our own personal world. Talent is useful in handling things and projects. Attitude is useful in handling people and relationships. Talent molds our actions. Attitude molds our reactions. Talent is like rain given by the Lord, and attitude is like the farm that is created by man. Talent is like an air pump that many times pumps the ego, and attitude is like a meter that beeps when it is too much and it prevents you from becoming proud. Life can go on without talent, but relationships cannot go on without the right attitude. People never love anybody for talent. Yes, they may glorify somebody for talent, but people love only because of good attitude. And we can never ever become perfect in talent. There's always somebody who's greater than us, but we can always become perfect in attitude. So actually, I still remember from my school, so many very intelligent teachers were teaching us. But even today, if anybody asks me, who was the best teacher in my school? I'll probably remember the teacher who cared for me. I'll probably remember the teacher who answered my questions. I'll not remember the teacher who had many awards. Similarly, in our lives also, we will meet many people who are very, very talented. They win awards, they are very popular, right? But they are not caring. They don't care about us. And when we are there with people who are talented, we are in a major way attracted to people with talent. But as time passes by, if you evaluate yourself, you will see yourself in your phone. You would rather call the person who has a good attitude rather than call the person who has a talent but no attitude. When you are not feeling good, whom do you call? The person who got very high marks in exams, or the person who could have got less marks in exams but who actually was always available to care for you, was a very friendly person, was a very friendly in his dealings. So our eyes are attracted to talent, but our heart is attracted to attitude. And this is again something for us to work on ourselves. Because our eyes are attracted to people with talent, we feel actually it does not matter how our attitude is. It does not matter how we deal with people. What matters is talent. And we spend so many hours in our lives developing certain talents. It could be singing, it could be mastering AI, it could be something else. But you know what? Usually if people spend most of their time mastering their talents, but they don't spend time mastering their attitudes, in general, such people will be very lonely. They never had time to reach out to friends. They never had time to work on their attitudes. But there are those people who don't have time to work on their talents. Why? They are always there to help some of their friends. They are always there to extend themselves for the benefit of others. And such people may score on talent low, but these will be the people, if they are sometimes in a troublesome situation, they need help, there will be 100 people to come for their help. Why? Because in a moment of crisis, your talent does not matter. In your moment of crisis, it is the attitude that matters. So there are two personalities in Mahabharata. We can compare them. One is Karna and one is Arjun. Both are high talented people, very famous for their archery skills. But according to some people, Karna is more talented than Arjun as far as the skills go. But look at the attitude of Karna. What is the attitude of Karna? Where does Karna, he enter the Mahabharata? Actually, the moment when Karna enters the Mahabharata is a very interesting situation. Pandavas and the Kauravas, they have been taught by their guru, Dronacharya. And just like any educational institution has a convocation day. So on a particular day after the course ends, then the dean or the principal will come and say, you have been awarded the degree. Actually, it is the convocation day of the Gurukul of Dronacharya. In a simple way, it's an exhibition match. What is an exhibition match? The Guru will stand, will call each disciple and say, now all the leaders and all the big army generals have assembled here. You show them what I taught you. So Bhima is very expert in club. So Dronacharya will call him and say, show what you can do. And he'll wave his heavy club. It's very difficult even to lift it, but Bhima is waving it. So wow, amazing. So it's a chance for the Guru to prove how his education to his students has been really good. In this exhibition match, he calls Arjun. So Arjun, now you show what I taught you in archery. And this is the time when Karna enters there and says, wait, I also want to show something. Now, is it a competition match? It's a pure convocation day. How many of you have been through convocation ceremonies? Yes? So in your college, when you had convocation day, what if your teacher is glorifying you and saying, this student was very good in physics, this student was very good in mathematics, and one person who's not even a student of that college, he has nothing to do with that college, but suddenly he comes in there and he says, wait a minute, I am better in physics than him. And the teacher says, well, that may be the case, but this is not a entrance exam for any scholarship or something where you prove how you are superior. This is a convocation day and he is my student, so I am requesting him to show his skills. No, he says, but no, this is a bias. You have a bias against me. I want to show how I am better than you. So, do you understand this? This is a private convocation ceremony of a particular educational institution. It has nothing to do with how you are superior or he is superior. And Karna says, just because I don't belong to the royal family, this Dronacharya is doing some politics against me. And already Duryodhan has some problems with this Pandava. So Duryodhan says, wait, I'll help you. And he calls this total stranger. Duryodhan has never met Karna before, but he knows one thing. Karna has some problem with the Pandavas and I have a problem with the Pandavas. So enemy of enemy is a friend. So he catches hold of Karna and says, okay, I declare you the king of Anga Pradesh. This is a kingdom called Anga. He says, I declare you are the king. Now you belong to the royal family. Now you show. And then Karna gets some chance to show his skills. But look at the attitude. The attitude is, he just wants an opportunity to show how he is superior to Arjun. It has nothing to do with right and wrong. It has nothing to do with somebody's benefit. It's all about envy. And then we also hear how Karna is a very charitable person, right? Why did Karna become a charitable person? Because Karna found out, as far as skills go, my skills and Pandava's skills, Arjuna's skills, we are almost equal. Now, what is it that is preventing me from winning over the Pandavas? Skills equal. There is one thing, they have a lot of pious credits. They have done a lot of punya. And because they have done a lot of punya, whenever I am fighting with them, their punya prevents me from winning over them. So if I get sufficient punya, then my punya will also match their punya, and my skills are already matching their skills. So then I can win against them. What is the fastest way to earn punya? I have never done anything good in my life, but now I have a 6-month period in which I have to increase my punya to the max possible. So what should I do? One good way is to become a charitable person and just say, anything you want from me, take it from me. So in that way, I increase my pious credits. My karma becomes very good. The only reason why Karna started becoming extremely charitable is not because he has a soft corner, not that he is not able to tolerate the misery of others. Oh, he is lacking something, let me give it to him. Nothing to do with that. He became charitable all of a sudden to an extreme degree, not to help others, not to solve the problems of others. It is to earn heaps and heaps of pious credits in minimum time, so that one day when there is a fight with Arjun, then I am an equal with Arjun on all respects. And when I am an equal with Arjun on all respects, then there is a good chance that I will defeat him. And that is what I want. So what is the reason for his charity? It is not soft-heartedness. It is not kindness of heart. It is pure envy for Arjun. And what happens in the Mahabharata war? In the Mahabharata war, there is a situation where Karna, he has been cursed by his guru Parshuram. At the right time, you will forget the knowledge that I have given to you. Why? You lied to your guru. Karna lied to his guru. You don't lie to your guru. You lie to the whole world. But you don't lie to your guru. Karna lied to his guru. So Guru said, because you lied to me, I curse you. At the right time, you will forget everything. So his wheel of the chariot got stuck up in mud and Karna was down. And that is the time when Krishna said, kill him right now. And Arjun is arguing with Krishna. He is saying, no, this is not the right way. There are some rules of war. And according to the rules of war, you can only kill somebody when he is properly armed. He does not have any arms. He is there on the ground. He does not have a bow. He does not have an arrow. He does not have a sword. He does not have a club. Both his hands are busy turning the wheel of his chariot. So in this situation, it's not good for me to fight with him. And Krishna is saying, what an attitude you have, Arjun. This person, his whole life, there is only one goal, to kill Arjun. Every breath that he is taking, the charity that he is doing, it's only for one purpose, to kill Arjun. And that Arjun, when Krishna is saying, this is a good moment for you to kill him, Arjun is saying, no, it's not proper way to kill him. So Krishna then has to agitate Arjun and remind him, do you remember who gave the dirty idea of disrobing Draupadi? It was Karna. It was Karna who said, this Draupadi, I think we should take off her clothes. It was not Duryodhan. Duryodhan carried her out. Duryodhan ordered Dushasan, do it. But who gave that dirty idea? It was Karna. So Krishna has to remind Arjun. Then Krishna has to remind Arjun, do you remember your 16-year-old son Abhimanyu? What is the rule of a war? The rule of a war, according to you, what you told me is, when he is properly armed, then you should be properly armed and then you should fight. What happened to Abhimanyu, my dear Arjun? He was a 16-year-old boy. Was he properly armed when he was killed by 6 people? 6 big warriors, they attacked this 16-year-old boy, and all of them were like greatly experienced. Was that according to the rules of the war? Should not that fight also should be 1-to-1? That time when Karna hit Abhimanyu, and 5 other people are also hitting Abhimanyu, because he is not experienced, he is a 16-year-old young boy. That time did Karna think about the rules of war, that one person should fight with one person, 6 people should not attack a young boy like Abhimanyu? He didn't think about the rules of the war, and you are telling me about the rules of the war. So in this way he reminded what all dirty things Karna has done. And then Arjun got agitated, and then Arjun took a arrow and then shot Karna. So as far as attitude goes, whose attitude is a good attitude? It's Arjun's attitude. And what about talent? Karna's talent is a little bit better than Arjun. But who received the blessings of Krishna? Who received the guidance of Krishna? Did the talented Karna receive, or did the very good attitude Arjun receive? very good attitude Arjun received. So many of us feel talent is more important than attitude. I'll tell you some of the limitations of good talent. If you have exceptional high talent, sometimes you get imprisoned in your conceptions of perfectionism. Perfectionism means because you are highly talented, you do everything perfectly. And that's your habit. If there is a small little bit remaining, you can't tolerate it. And you know what happens because of that? Because very few people are perfectionists. So mostly people around you are not perfectionists. And you are a perfectionist. And you can't tolerate non-perfectionism. You know what will happen? You will never have good friends. Why? Because you keep pestering about the small thing. ये ऐसा क्यों नहीं किया? ऐसा. ये ऐसा क्यों नहीं किया? ऐसा. You know all the small things? Because you are talented. Number two, mostly you will be a very successful person, at least externally. And because you are a very successful person externally, many of your people who are around you, mostly your friends, there's a good chance they'll become envious of you. You know why? Because you're always on top. And nobody else is on top. So they'll always make some conspiracies against you. They're always having negative feelings against you. Why? Because you're highly talented. Third, because you are highly talented and because, everything you do is of a very high quality, one day in your life, if you are not able to do it properly, maybe because of you're sick that day. Every exam your rank is first, but one exam you have fever and you're not able to write properly. You studied rightly, but you're not able to write properly. Your memory is not cooperating with you and you're not able to get good marks in that exam. That one exam, when you get less marks, you are collapsed. I know one student in my school, 4th standard, means his age must be 7. 4th standard student, he stood first. 5th standard, he stood first. 6th standard, he stood first. So now it was a habit for him to stand first. In 7th standard, he stood second. And he just lost by 1 mark. And I still remember him, he went to the school to collect that report. And the teacher said, oh, so he was just expecting first. He said, so first, right? Teacher said, I'm really sorry, but this time you have stood second. It was a heartbreaking experience for this boy. And then he told the teacher, are you sure? So yeah, you're second. But don't worry, you just lost by 1 mark. And then he asked, to whom? And then there was somebody who was not even 5th in the earlier class. And that person had worked hard. And so that person had stood first. This person in 7th standard, what must be his age? 10, 11. This person went to school to collect the report card at 11 o'clock in the morning. He did not go back to his home till 6 o'clock in the evening. His mother and father, an 11-year-old boy in a city like Bombay is lost. Why? He was feeling the pain of standing second. And how many marks did he stand second by? 1 mark. Is it really a big defeat? Is it really a big crisis? For that boy, it was a big crisis. You know why? Because he was expecting first rank. Why? 6th standard, first rank. Why? 5th standard, first rank. Why? 4th standard, first rank. If I stood first in 3 classes, I have to stand first in all my life. And does life work like that? Will there be a single exam in your whole life where you will not stand first? Is it possible like that? Think about it. But when we think that I am a talented person and I deserve the first rank, even in one exam, if you stand second, which is not at all a defeat, it's not that you lost everything, but your mind convinces you, gone, you are a useless person. क्या फ़ायदा हुआ इतना पढ़ाई करके आप second आ गए? And more than the marks, more than the rank, your own impulsive mind has killed your future. Probably in that depressed state of mind, you will not even go for the interview. Even if you go for the interview, when this person is asking you questions, because you stood second, from his perspective, you are doing good. And he's asking you questions, but you are not even able to answer. Why? Because you are depressed inside. How can I stand second? What is the use of standing second? This is real life stories I am telling you. So, talent usually creates problems. In fact, not talent, but overemphasis on talent. I gave you 3 limitations of overemphasis on talent, and I compared talent with attitude. Gave you an example of Karan and Arjun also. I'll give you some advantages of somebody with a good attitude. Think about it. You know, you're on your way to an interview and put on a good shirt, nicely combed hair, and now you're really positive about the interview. And as you're going to the interview, a bird that is going on top gives you some prasad. So one of my friends, he was going to an interview and this bird dropped something here. You know what he said? I'm so thankful. Elephants don't fly. He just took it in a very positive spirit. ठीक है ना, हाथी तो नहीं उड़ते हैं, थोड़ा सा ही है. He just went to a roadside hotel. He gave him 10 rupees. He took a water bottle, some mineral water bottle. He went to the side with a handkerchief. He just brushed it off, right? In a very cool way. He just lost 5 minutes in all that. In a very cool way, he went to the interview. He answered that interview. But why was it possible to go with a positive frame of mind to the interview? He just took it in a very light way. In Bombay, many times it rains heavily. So I'm not sure how many of you will stay in Bombay, but if you stay in Bombay, you know, in rainy season there will be puddles of water that will be created on the road. Maybe in rest of India it does not happen, but in Bombay it happens. And when you're walking on the road, sometimes a very fast taxi or a fast bike will go, and some of that water will be splashed on your pants or on your clothes. What will you do? Because that car or that bike has already gone ahead. Mostly what I have seen people doing is, "Hey, samajhta nahi hai kya?" and they speak some bad words, right? But that person does not even hear it. He's gone by. What has happened is, you spoiled your day. If you are on your way to your job, mostly you will have a fight with your boss. If you are on your way to your home, mostly you will have a fight with your wife. Why? Because you allowed the mud that person threw on your clothes to enter into your mind. The person threw mud on your clothes. The person does not have the ability to throw mud on your mind. Who threw the mud from the clothes on the mind? It is we. Why? Because we don't have a proper attitude. But when we have the right attitude, we understand the bend on the road is not the end of the road. When we have a right attitude, we understand end of the chapter is not end of the book. Only this chapter has ended. I can turn the page and then there's a second chapter waiting in my life. So if something goes wrong in my life, that does not mean my life has gone wrong. It means something in my life has gone wrong. Life is still there. But if you don't have this positive attitude, I can tell you, if one person misbehaves with you, many people think this is the end of my life. Sometimes, you know, people get into relationships, and if that one relationship does not work out properly, people sometimes are unable to, you know, maintain their lives. So many people end their lives, and you ask them what happened. They said, no, I was in a relationship and the other person said, I don't even want to see your face and I'm not able to handle that pain, and I think it is easy to give up my life itself. There's so many opportunities waiting. But because we don't have a proper attitude, we feel this is the end. Now what else is there for me to do? So this is the first sutra that we wanted to share with you. One very good example of a good attitude winning over talent is Hanuman. Hanuman has so much talent. Hanuman has so much strength. In Hanuman Chalisa is called Buddhiman Ati Chatur Ram Kaj Karibe Ko Atur. He is very eager to serve Ram, and he is very chatur, he is very intelligent, also he is very strong. Very dangerous combination. But in Ramayana, after doing all the big things, he wanted to serve Krishna, because the same Ram appeared as Krishna, and he knows that there is a very nice opportunity for me to serve Ram. So he went to Krishna and said, last war I had so much seva. In this war, Mahabharata war also, can I get some seva? So Krishna says, last time I arranged I arranged things in such a way that you were the hero. Is it not? He said, yeah, I still remember. In Mahabharata war, I have arranged things in such a way that Arjun will be the hero. I want Arjun to be glorified in this war. Last war, who was glorified? Actually, if you check, almost all the people, they think Hanuman is the hero of Rama. The war at least, not the whole Ramayana. All the big things were done by Hanumanji. Before the war started, who found out Mother Sita's whereabouts? Hanuman. Who went and burned the whole Lanka? Ram did not burn the Lanka. Ram just killed Ravan. The whole Lanka was burnt by whom? Hanuman. So Ram is saying, the same Ram as Krishna is saying, last time I did things in such a way that I glorified you. This time I want to glorify Arjun. So this time there is no seva for you. So he says, no, I want to do some seva. If he was just focusing on his talent, then what he would have replied to Krishna, how dare you say to me, I am the hero of Ramayana, I better be the hero of Mahabharata also. But he is not overemphasizing his talent over his attitude. Attitude is more important than talent. What is that attitude? Always being able to serve Lord Ram. That is more important. So he is saying, no, please give me some service. So then Krishna says, okay, do one thing. On Arjun's chariot, there is a flag. You be there on the flag. And anytime Arjun shoots an arrow, then you can shout from that flag. So Hanuman, because he's a massive Vanar, when he shouts, like that, if he shouts like that, it creates fear in the heart of others. So what he did is, whenever Arjun would shoot an arrow, he would create fear in the hearts of the other person by shouting from the flag. What a sweet attitude Hanuman has. See, the biggest hero of Ramayana is with the right attitude of seva, service, pleasure of Ram, rather than my pleasure, is accepting such a simple position of being on the flag. And when Arjun shoots an arrow, he will shout, which means he is not only serving Ram, he is not only serving Krishna, in one sense he is also serving Arjun. So I am ready to serve God, but am I ready to serve you? Right? So most people, they are not even ready to serve God, but some of them will say, okay, at least God I will serve, but I will not serve him. But Hanumanji has such a sweet attitude. He is not just ready to serve God, but he is also ready to serve the servant of God. And that's why there is nobody who has such a sweet attitude like Hanuman. And that's why Hanuman, if you see, so many kids, they don't know Arjun. All the kids, they are so happy when you talk of Hanuman. Why? Because Hanuman has this plump face, and he has his tail, and he has his club, and he's really amazing. Sometimes he jumps into the sky to catch hold of the sun as if it's an orange. If you check out kids, small kids just love Hanuman. Hanuman is probably the most famous character in all the scriptures as far as being people liking him. And anywhere anybody sees a picture of Hanuman, they say, this is Hanuman. But you put a picture of Ram, they may not understand Ram. You put a picture of Arjun, they may not understand a picture of Arjun. So Hanuman is one of the most famous characters. But what is the reason why he is the most famous character? We feel because of his talent. Arey, itni badi cheezein ki Hanuman ji ne? No, that's not the reason. The reason is he has such a sweet attitude of adjusting as per the will of Krishna, and is ready to not only serve God but also the servant of God, and that's why Hanuman is so famous. Alright, so the other sutras we'll check out some other day if God allows us, if the organizers allow us. So we'll stop here. Does anybody have any questions on what we spoke? Anybody? See, one simple thing that you can do is make notes. We feel we'll remember everything, and that's why we never make notes. Right? And we think, this kid stuff. Having right attitude, this kid stuff. I don't need to make notes. I'll make notes for all the complex scientific equations that I'm learning. Scientific equations and learning those scientific equations can help you deal with matter. But what I'm speaking will make you deal with your own inner world, how to handle your emotions. See, the most famous scientist, the most intelligent scientist, if he undergoes depression because of anything, his research is not recognized. He put his energy into his research, and people around him are not able to recognize that research. What if he goes into depression and he stops research? What happens to all that intelligence that is there? What happens to all the knowledge that is there in the mind of the scientist if he goes into depression? Lost. It's like, you have a safe. In Hindi it's called a tijori. There's a lot of gold in the tijori, but the combination, lost. Somebody put all his wealth in the tijori and he locked the tijori. And now you're asking him, what is the combination of that tijori? He says, sorry, I forgot. So there is a lot of gold there, but it's inaccessible. I'll give you a very contemporary example. You made your thesis report. You're doing some research, PhD, and you made your thesis report in a Word file. But because you work on a public computer, you put a password to it, right? And you slipped on the road and you hit your head and you forgot the password of that file. It's a Word document which contains the PhD thesis of your 3 years of work, and you lost the password. What happens to the thesis? Lost. So if somebody teaches you how to remember that single word, is it important for you? But people will say, 3-year thesis is more important than the password. But I'm asking you, if you forget the password, is that 3-year thesis accessible to you? So we are interesting people. We would rather work on developing our bodily strength, but we will not work on improving our mental strength. But actually, physical strength is useful to us sometimes when we are lifting heavy loads or when we are doing some special tasks. But mental strength is put to test in every human interaction. Every time you interact with anybody next to you, if you are weak inside, any remark from somebody can actually spoil your day, can actually make you feel worthless. If I say, you donkey, you don't even understand to make notes. How does it feel when I speak like that? It hurts, right? What did I say? I just said you are a donkey. You didn't become a donkey, right? But just if somebody says, you donkey, गधा कहीं का, समझ में नहीं आता है, notes नहीं बना सकता है. It hurts, right? And a very intelligent person who has very high intelligence, but he never learned the art of managing his emotions, can actually become like a safe whose combination is lost. You can actually become like a Word file with password lost. So it will help us a lot if, in addition to improving our physical strength, in addition to becoming very intelligent, we also become emotionally very strong, so that anybody, by passing a few rash remarks, or anybody who interactions with us is behaving in a strange way, we don't give the adhikar to somebody else to spoil our mood. We have to become emotionally strong. We have to do mind management. Unfortunately, nobody is talking about it. Why are, the modern world, I don't know how many of you get time to read the news, but the news is full of people who passed out of IIT. They had a big job in Bangalore, 40 LPA, 50 LPA, and they worked for 3 years, 4 years, high work pressure, meeting deadlines after deadlines, meeting after meeting, but they never ever got satisfaction. And you know what they are doing now? They gave up that job and they are doing farming. There are so many people in North India who are highly educated, but they gave up that high paying job to drive an Uber cab. So you wonder, hey, you are such a IIT PhD, what are you doing driving a Ola and Uber cab? They said, because in that high pressure job, I felt there's just too much competition and there is no sensitivity in dealings. My colleague, instead of always helping me, was always meditating on getting an appraisal better than my appraisal, and always trying to improve his salary. It was so much cutthroat competition. It's actually cutthroat competition. So when you are always surrounded by people who always want to cut your throat, it's not exactly a very soothing experience. And so there are so many well-off people who are giving up their jobs, driving an Ola cab. Why? They got used to the air conditioning. So they say, at least I need an air conditioned cab to drive, but I want a low pressure. They could not handle the pressure that is there in the corporate world. So what went wrong? This person is a pass out of IIT Bombay, which means high intellect, but no muscle power for the mind. If his boss says something to him, he resigns. He says, I cannot handle this. So what does spirituality teach? Spirituality does not teach you to change the boss. That anybody can do by resigning. You resign because your boss is very abusive and you change the company. Assuming that the next boss in the next company will be very sweet, right? That's how it is, right? If your current boss is very abusive and you give a resignation and you change to another company, there's a guarantee that the government of India gives that the next boss will be very sweet, right? No? What if the next boss is also abusive? Then what will you do? You will resign from there also. Why? Because the government of India gives a guarantee, 2 bosses in a row. If you had abusive, then third boss, we guarantee that he will be a very sweet boss, right? What if the third boss is also abusive? What will you do? How many jobs will you change like this? Isn't it important to not give so much importance to the boss's attitude, but to always have a flexible, strong attitude inside? The boss may be abusive. I don't have anything to do with the boss. I just get the work done and I go on ahead with my life. But nobody is teaching us this. What we are being taught is get high marks, get into a big institution, get into a high paying job, but nobody is teaching you how to handle an abusive boss. So spirituality does not teach you how to get good marks. That your educational institution is already teaching you. But spirituality teaches you, just in case you have an abusive boss who never appreciates you, who never encourages you, who always finds a fault in you, how to survive in that toxic environment. And very soon you might come across in your life, either in the next 20 years, either in the next 40, but somewhere in our life, we will meet somebody in our life who does not understand us, who is highly toxic, who just does not care about us, and we are thinking, how do I come out of this situation? And the only way to come out of the situation is not to change him or her. The only way to change the situation is to change yourself. But that's in your hands. You can't change the other person. The only person you can change is yourself. So as life goes by, as you go ahead in life, slowly you start realizing the harsh realities of life. The harsh realities of life is, it's easier to change yourself than to change your room partner, than to change your friend. Alright? So it starts with just making notes. If you make notes and 5 days from now, if you forget something, then at least you can refer to the notes and say, oh, this point was mentioned. And I think I can learn from this point and I can improve my life. Alright? So we'll stop here. Thank you for your patient listening and my best wishes for 10th of July. May you get the dream assignment, dream campus of your heart. Alright? So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.